What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and in this video I'd like to share with you my perspectives, rather thought-provoking perspective on why I believe the market is dropping right now, what's happening in the crypto market. And a lot of it to me makes sense. There are some things that I can't make sense out of, and I'm sorry if I get tongue-tied, but I'm going to try to share with you here what my thoughts are. And a lot of this is based on my experience in the markets. I've been invested in crypto since 2015, and I think this drop caught a lot of people off guard. Now, some people saw it coming a mile away. So some people were very bearish at the top. Some people got bearish once we closed below the 50-week moving average, or once we got below it at all. And then there's other implications, right? I am still, even in the face of all this death and demise in the crypto markets, I'm still reluctant to say that we are in a bear market at this point. And I want to go over why I think that is and why we dropped to such a degree. Okay, I have a theory. And I'd like to start off by pointing out my x.com post that I made here, and I'll just read it verbatim. I'm really starting to wonder if this sell-off is, in fact, a coordinated effort to push the prices down in the crypto markets, allowing the smart money to scoop things up at the low while people panic sell. I rarely make claims about market manipulation. I think it's a cop-out when most people say it. And maybe I'm coping now. Maybe I am. I rarely ever say, in fact, the first time in this channel's history that I ever called for manipulation at all was on the 10th of October. This is the second time that I'm even talking about it, right? Manipulation happens. It's a part of things. If that upsets you, don't get invested in crypto, because manipulation happens in crypto. It happens in the dollar. It happens in stocks. It happens in real estate, commodities. It happens everywhere. It's a part of it. And I accept that, and I think everybody should. But there's certain points where manipulation is like, it's true manipulation. It's a little bit more than just what we get in standard insider information and stuff like that. This felt like a coordinated attack. October 10th was undoubtedly the start of all this. October 10th was undoubtedly the start of all this. October 10th was undoubtedly a coordinated effort to liquidate longs across every major crypto exchange in the world. Now, do I know this for a fact? Do I know this for a 100% fact? Did CZ call me, or did Brian Armstrong call me? Did President Trump call me and tell me, hey, this is real. We actually did manipulate the market to push it down. No, none of them called me and told me that. But I barely need a brain. I barely need a brain at all to tell you and understand that the 10th of October was a manipulated effort, a coordinated push to liquidate longs. It was the largest liquidation event in history, not in crypto, in history. In a 24-hour period. We've never seen $20 billion in leveraged positions get liquidated in a 24-hour period. We did here. And it happened in really like a 1-hour period. It was crazy. And we know without a doubt, you don't have to even have a brain to know that this was manipulated, that this was a coordinated effort. Here's how. Every single exchange, every major exchange, Binance, Coinbase, Gemini, Kraken, KuCoin, all the major exchanges, all at the same time, coincidentally, in what was the largest liquidation event in history. Who makes money whenever cryptos get liquidated? Whenever you have leveraged positions, who makes money when those positions get liquidated? The exchange does. Maybe some people make money if they're on the short side of that as well. Some people do, but the majority of those funds, whenever a position gets liquidated, 100% of the proceeds go to the exchange. All of it, right? And coincidentally, every major exchange in the world went down at the exact same time. Now, that doesn't mean that the CEOs of these companies, the people in charge of these companies, had any kind of idea. Maybe it was a coordinated effort outside of them. I don't know. And I'm not trying to shame or defame anybody. But undoubtedly, the 10th of October was a coordinated effort to liquidate longs. Absolutely it was. And again, this was the starting point of all this. And how do we know that? Because every major exchange at the same time went down. And then as soon as they opened back up, we flipped right back to this price, as if things regulated, right? As if this move could only happen enough to liquidate $20 billion worth. It could have only happened if the exchanges were all down at the same time, if every major exchange was down at the same time. It couldn't have happened any other way, right? Coordinated effort. That's when it started. So I started thinking in kind of a line of thinking that allowed me to get to this conclusion, which I'm really running with right now, is that this whole dump has been a continuation of a coordinated, manipulated effort. Is it the same people? I don't know. Probably. It's probably the same people. The people who made profits here are the same people who are making profits here. So Probably. It's probably a coordinated effort by the same people. And what's the purpose? It's to make people panic sell. It's to make people think, because obviously Bitcoin is the choice, right? Bitcoin will clearly be the winner versus the dollar. It will clearly win. Maybe we come down, maybe we're in a bear market, whatever. But even if we drop all the way to 37K, which is not going to happen, even if we drop all the way down to 10K, which is not going to happen, Bitcoin will return with a vengeance. And as time goes on, it will only grow in value versus the dollar because it's math. There's only 21 million of them, and there's an unlimited supply of the US dollar, right? That's not the point. The point is everybody knows that it's going to grow in value as time goes on. So what do you do to provide that most people are not making money? If you're an exchange and people are long, what do you do so you don't have to pay out those longs? You clear them out. You make people sell. And then what do? You buy the low as the smart money, as the people who are the whales that are able to move it and push this market around. You buy the low. And the dumb money, the new money, the retail, the people who don't have experience in these markets, they see something like this and they panic. They panic sell. And maybe in a month or two, whenever things are back up, if they do come back up, it'll be obvious that this was the worst time to sell. But things are not obvious right now. We are in levels of extreme fear. The most fear that we've seen in this since the coin market cap fear and greed index ever existed, but the most fear that we've seen in this whole bull market. And I still believe we're in a bull market. I keep saying bull market because we still have higher lows. We still do have higher lows. We don't have a lower low. We are still technically in an uptrend. Higher lows and higher highs. That's what defines an uptrend, right? I'm willing to call this a bear market, and I'll go over it real quick. What it would take for me is that we would have to return to these levels, whether it's right here for support or right here for support, whatever. We'd have to return to something where we found support before, back test it for resistance, and then come back down to these levels. If we do that, I would flip bearish at about 90K or 87K on this come down. I would say we're in a bear market. I would have missed the initial part, but we will catch the last part, right? Likely there's more than double whatever the stop is. If we are in a bear market, we likely will go below these lows and probably back down to these lows or lower, okay, if we're in a bear market. Until then, I maintain the stance that we're in a bull market, primarily because, again, I think this is irrational. And I think that this is a forced coordinated movement. If it's a forced coordinated movement to the downside, that makes me think that that there is a tremendous amount of upside to come soon, and they, whoever they are pushing the price down intentionally to make sure that there's less people to benefit from this, so that there's more to benefit on their behalf rather than on the public's behalf, on the retail's behalf. I want to keep reading this post that I have, right? The fact that there are no headlines explaining why we are dropping in the markets tells me it's something hush-hush, something nefarious perhaps. I don't know why the prices are being manipulated. There's an abundance of possibilities, and we could probably spend all day talking about the possibilities, but I do believe this is a coordinated effort to push the price down. That's the only explanation for the silence from the media, right? Because we've seen it before. We've seen this before where we get a short squeeze. There's a bunch of people who are shorting the markets and we get a short squeeze, so we move up, right? Nobody's screaming. I wasn't screaming that's manipulation, though it's kind of the same thought, right? A lot of longs, over leveraged, they squeeze them down. It's a long squeeze. We see the headlines come out and say it's a short squeeze. The markets were over leveraged to the downside. This was a long squeeze. The markets were over leveraged to the upside. We've seen the headlines talk about this before, candidly. And it's so obvious that that's what's happening now, is that this is a reaming of all the long positions. And yet the media does not really talk about that. Sure, on the 10th of October, the headlines were 20 billion in liquidations happened. But I don't remember any economists, and I certainly haven't seen any economists on CNN or CNBC talk about how, oh yeah, the market was over leveraged. You know, this is just a natural reaction to over leveraged positions. They're not saying that stuff when they normally do. And that's fine. If that's why we're dropping, that's fine. But we know that's not why we're dropping, because we have transparency whenever it comes to these leverage positions. We know that the shorts have been dominant for a very long time. Since this day, the shorts have been dominant. Okay? So why is the market moving down? It's not because there's over leveraged positions to the long side. So it's for something else. It's for something that the public is not privy to this information on. And that's how we know it's nefarious, right? The fact, am I connecting the dots or do I sound like a madman? The fact that we don't have a reason why, the fact that there's silence, there's a reason for that, right? There's a reason why we're dropping. There's always a reason. There always is. And who cares what the reason is? The reasons are pointless. We go up, we go down, whatever. But the fact that the important thing here, the significant thing here is that there is no reason now, but there's always a reason. There is always a reason. They're just not talking about it. And why wouldn't they talk about it? It's because it's something that's hush-hush. It's because it's something that's behind closed doors that the public is not and will not be aware of, because if they were, people would be pissed. There would be legal ramifications, right? That's the only reason why we don't know. With FTX collapse, if anybody's hearing this and you're theorizing, well, but the top dogs, they keep things under wraps because they don't want the public to know. There's things you don't know. I understand that. But with the FTX collapse, top dogs involved. And guess what? We all knew about that. We all publicly knew about that. Whenever we had the 2017 drop right here, let's see. Oh, we don't have it on this chart. Or yeah, right here, 2017, CME futures first came out, and the markets, the institutional money that came in to short Bitcoin at this price, we all knew about that. And that was manipulation too. We're not knowing about it now because this is something, whatever's happening now can't be explained to the public without it making people pissed off because it's wrong. Something wrong is happening here. And it is coordinated. There's zero doubt in my mind that it's coordinated. This was the starting point, and the fact that we have this silence, this is the ending point. They're going to come up with some kind of story. I would be curious. It would be absolutely ridiculous if in a few months we didn't get, or in a week, we didn't get a reason for why this happened. But again, I think the reason why we haven't had a reason is because they know that there's no reason. Anything that they give us, people are going to fact check on X.com. People are going to do their research and study. Anything that they say can incriminate them if it's false information. So they're not saying anything because they got nothing, because it's so obvious. I just feel like it's so obvious. Does this make sense? Am I a madman screaming into the void? I don't know. I don't know how to better say what I'm trying to say other than the silence to me is an admission of guilt. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Do you have kids? Do you have friends? Maybe they stole something from you and you confront them and you say, "Did you take this from me?" And they're silent and they just look guilty, but they look guilty. They didn't say anything. They didn't admit guilt. You don't have any evidence other than suspicions, but that silence is a clear admission of guilt. And that, I know that doesn't hold up in the court of law. I'm not a lawyer here. I'm not trying to go after anybody. I don't care. I honestly don't care if there is nefarious things going on. The only thing that I care about is that people are losing money, that people are getting wrecked. You know, we've all lost money if you're invested in crypto. We've all lost money and been duped unless you sold out and took profits, right? We've all lost money since October. But I'm not even upset about that. I'm not even upset about the manipulation. I'm not making this video because I'm pissed or because I want justice, I want answers. No, I'm making this video specifically to tell you what the answer is, what my thoughts are, what my perspective is, because it's so obvious. It's so incredibly obvious that this is a manipulated effort. There's no other way to explain it. How come throughout this whole market, this whole bull market, whenever the shorts outweigh the longs to the effect that they do now, we've seen a reversal, but now we don't? And this all coincidentally started around the time of October 10th, which was a coordinated, absolutely undeniable at that point. Whether from here and on was manipulated, okay, we can agree to disagree. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm putting on my tin hat and I'm just a conspiracy theorist. But whoever you are out there, the 10th of October, there's no way to debate it at all. It was a coordinated effort. Every exchange closing down at the same time, it was a coordinated effort. Oh, no, every major exchange coincidentally in the same hour to 4 hour period went down. And then coincidentally, they all came back online at the same time too. It's just a coincidence though. It wasn't manipulated, C-Zar. I don't believe you. You don't believe you. If you do believe you, get help. Get help. And it all started there. And I think that this is a coordinated effort for the big dogs to scoop up the money. The little guy who was going to make a bunch of money, who was invested fully in crypto, he's sold out now, and this recovery might be really, really fast when it happens. Now, as I said in my Bitcoin video earlier today, likely in these type of events, likely we do consolidate for a month or two, likely. But when we recover, I wouldn't be surprised if it was sharp and fast, and perhaps faster than anything we've seen this whole bull market. If I'm wrong, we'll move up to about 100K, 110K, somewhere up here, reject. And if we come back down below like this level here, we're probably in a bear market. The statistical probability that we would take out this low or whatever low we have before we have this recovery, the statistical probability that we take that out would be great. And at that point, we'd be bearish. At that point, we'd call it bear market. Would we catch all this to here? No, but from here and down, we would catch. You know what I mean? And that's all that matters, is to be able to put yourself in a better position so that whenever you do bounce, it'll come back. There's one more thing that I want to talk about, and if you're still here, this is something that I think will benefit you from it'll benefit you in the sense of avoiding more panic, more emotional attack, psyop, BS that's coming your way. Okay, because a lot of people, and I like to think I know what I'm talking about. Maybe I don't with certain things. Maybe certain things are just a stretch, right? Well, kind of like this video, right? It's really just a stretch of my imagination, but I think it's based in logic. I think it's obvious. I really do think it's obvious. I think it's profoundly obvious that this is a manipulated, coordinated effort to push the prices down. Institutional cycle. The institutions are buying this thing up. Nation states are buying this thing up, right? People are with deep pockets are licking their lips, putting their bib and knife and fork in hand. They're ready to eat because Bitcoin is at $80,000. Okay. The only people that are upset about this are the people are the little guy, right? There's a bunch of people who are looking at the crypto markets right now who have a lot of money who are like, this is an opportunity. Where the average person's like, damn it, why didn't I sell up here? I'm going to sell here and save what little scraps I have left because I made the wrong decision investing in crypto. It's going to come back up. I'm getting distracted. What I'm trying to talk about, the last thing that I'd like to talk about here is is the MicroStrategy purchases, okay? You go to strategy.com/purchases. You can see this. Average cost of Bitcoin is 74.4K. And people on X.com are saying, if we go below this level, MicroStrategy defaults, they go bankrupt, they have to close their positions, right, before they get liquidated. And that's not true. We've actually seen a time where the Bitcoin price went below the average Bitcoin cost that MSTR had, that strategy had. We've actually seen a time where we did go below this level. We can go, what I'm trying to say here is, if anybody out there is thinking that if we go below 74, and I don't think we do, but let's say we do, if we go below 74.4K, that means that Bitcoin's gone bust. All of these Bitcoins, 650,000 Bitcoins are defaulted and now they have to liquidate. If that's what your thoughts are, let me show you how that's absolutely false and that's fabricated nonsense and it doesn't make sense, okay? April. Where are you? April 5th. 2021, okay? April 5th, $45,000 price, $59,000 price, average cost, okay? 11 here, right there. Is that's the 5th of, sorry, that's 2022. This is 2021. April 5th, 2021. Average cost is 60,000. So on April 5th, 2021, they made a purchase of 253 Bitcoin. Is that what it is? They made a purchase. Oh, that's what it is. I want to go off the count. Okay. I accidentally clicked on something and I made it wrong. Yeah, they made a purchase, 253 Bitcoin, $59,000 cost average. Okay, that was their average cost for Bitcoin, not for that purchase, but in total, in their total holdings, 59,000. April 5th, 2021. We go back to April 5th, 2021. Let me see here. Hold on. Having some difficulties here, moving things around. Let's put it on a weekly time frame. It'll just be so much easier. April 5th, 2021. Where were we? April. So April 11th, April 4th was here. April 4th is here. The 5th might be somewhere in between these prices. Let's just put it at the low. Okay. By the end of the week, on April 5th, 2021, $59,000. By the end of the week, Bitcoin was below. We were at 42K. Not to mention, it went lower, went all the way down to $15,000. Bitcoin did. Meanwhile, MicroStrategy at that time, on April 5th, its average cost was 59K. And then in May, they brought it down to 43K. And then in June, they brought it down to 37K. June 2021. Let's see what that was. June 2021. June. And it was June 21st, 2021. So it would have been here. That's about 20K, 21K right here. That's your average cost. 20 to 21K right there. June 21, average cost is 37K. Still below the average cost of Bitcoin. So again, if anybody's hearing this right now and you see on X.com, if by chance MicroStrategy does go below its average Bitcoin cost, which I doubt it does from here, but if Bitcoin does go below the average MicroStrategy cost here, sorry, I phrased that wrong. If it goes below, MicroStrategy does not default. That's not how it works. They are fine. They are totally fine. Anyways, I got nothing else for you guys. Hit the like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. the main essence of this video was to just explain this thought here and elaborate on it. I mean, prove me wrong. Give me a reason. Give us a reason why. Give us a reason why the market's dropping. If you can't, it's because you don't want to. And if you don't want to, it's because you did something wrong. I think the media can't produce a reason why the market's dropping, because if they did, people would be pissed. Because it would be abundantly obvious that there's some coordinated efforts going on. And that's why we're not hearing anything. When every other step of life that Bitcoin's had, even in moments where it's obvious that it is coordinated too, this is so much worse. For some reason, something's going on here. Hit the like button, subscribe. I'll see you on the next one. Ravings of a madman. Until next time, bye-bye.